Hello, I'm Auriel Majumdar. I'm a creative coach and the mentoring consultant for Help Musicians on Copilot, the Musicians Mentoring Network. In this short video, I'm going to introduce the three-stage process. Mentoring is essentially a conversation, but even if you've been mentoring informally for quite a while, you might still worry about whether you're doing it right. This is where having a structured mentoring process can be helpful. A tried and tested way of structuring mentoring conversations is called the three-stage process, which gives us a route map for the mentoring session and can help you keep on track if you start feeling lost or directionless. The three-stage process is, as the name suggests, a sequence of three distinct stages in the conversation, where the mentor first supports the mentee to explore their questions and issues, then helps the mentee gain new understandings, and finally encourages the mentee to decide on the actions they want to take. It's really very straightforward, so let me take you through each stage in a little more detail. This first stage is about opening up the conversation and seeing what's in there. If you're the mentor, in this stage you can take the lead in building rapport with your mentee, putting them at ease and creating an atmosphere that encourages exploration. Ask questions to understand more, get curious. Try and resist giving too much advice in this stage. That might come later, but in this, the exploration stage, you're encouraging the mentee's own thinking by asking questions and listening well. Don't feel you need to rush, be patient and give the mentee plenty of space and time to explore their issues. The sort of questions the mentor might ask in this stage include: what would you like to talk about today? Can you tell me some more about that? What I understand you to be saying is, does this seem right? All of these kinds of questions help the mentee go further in their thinking than they might be able to do without a mentor. For the mentee, this is when you need to be willing to think out loud and share what's going on for you. Don't feel pressured to come up with answers or solutions just yet. This stage is about wide open exploratory thinking. Stage 2 is the turning point in the conversation, where the mentor and the mentee start to examine the thinking in stage 1 to see if they can use it to gain new insights into the mentee's situation or issue. Here, the mentor opens up the conversation even further and helps the mentee examine their issue and gain a fresh perspective on it. In this stage, the mentor can try a number of different approaches. You can challenge assumptions or misconceptions that the mentee may have, maybe offer information, feedback and guidance, or suggest different perspectives on the issue. In the new understanding stage, the mentor can offer questions like, it sounds like you've shifted perspective. What is there to learn here? What's the most important thing to work on now that you're seeing the situation differently? This stage is where your own experience can be invaluable, but make sure your mentee is ready to hear it. You can always ask something along the lines of, this reminds me of something I've encountered in my career. Would it be useful for me to share that now? As a mentee in this stage, again it helps if you stay open-minded and willing to move beyond your usual ways of seeing things. Your creativity and willingness to experiment and play can be a real asset here. What you're both aiming for is an aha moment, what we call the shift in the room, so that new possibilities present themselves where before there didn't appear to be any. Sometimes this can happen very rapidly and spontaneously, but not always. Again, be patient and don't be afraid to go back to stage 1 if it feels like more exploration is needed. There really is no rush. The third stage is about taking these new insights and turning them into action. Now you're seeing things in new ways, what might you do next? Here the mentor can do a number of things. You can help evaluate different options for action and think about their consequences. You can get practical and help the mentee develop an action plan, and definitely challenge the mentee to make sure the actions are realistic and achievable. You might be able to anticipate possible blocks to taking action and think about what the mentee could do to remove any obstacles. The questions you could ask here might remind you of the questions you ask in a management or leadership role, like, shall we look at the pros and cons of that? Now you've decided on that action, is there anything you need to do first? What are your next steps? What might get in the way? How can I help you? There can be a temptation to push the mentee to get to the action as quickly as possible, but often the quality and commitment to the action depends on the quality of stage 1 and stage 2, so don't rush things. Equally, don't expect every meeting to result in a concrete action plan. Sometimes the action will be to meet again and carry on exploring, and that will be progress enough. In practice, the mentoring process rarely moves in a straight line from stage 1 to stage 3, so you need to hold it lightly. More often, the conversation circles between the stages, and the skill of the mentor is to understand where you are in the process and bring the attention back to what needs doing, whether that's exploring, gaining new understandings, or moving to action. It can be helpful to discuss the 3-stage process up front between you, so that both mentor and mentee understand what's happening and have a shared language or a shorthand to talk about what's happening in the sessions. The 3-stage process is intended to be helpful, but for some mentors who maybe have been informally mentoring and following their instincts for some time, introducing a process, even one as straightforward as this, can throw you off your stride. It's really typical for mentors to say, well, I thought I knew what I was doing until I tried to follow a process. But remember, learning to mentor formally is very much like musicians learning the basics, say notes and timing, before they can become virtuoso improvisers. So I'd encourage you to stick with it, keep practicing, and before long it will become second nature to follow this sequence. Above all, the 3-stage process gives you a structure for your sessions so that they build towards action. With this broad structure in place, you can both then relax and enjoy the journey. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you have any questions about the mentoring process, then please feel free to contact the co-pilot project manager at mentoring@helpmusicians.org.uk.